Welcome to HSR Motorsport. Hello and welcome indeed to HSR Motorsport GT3 Season 6. And today you join us for round 5. The 62.5% race of the season takes us 5,593 miles east from the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca circuit and 326 miles east from my home, only 7 hours and 30 minutes away from where I live, with some light traffic. We are, of course, at Circuit Zolder in Belgium. It's played second fiddle to, of course, Eau Rouge and the well-known... my brain's gone tonight. I can't even remember the track's name for some reason, even though it's a Spa. Sorry, my brain's gone this week. It's played second fiddle to Spa, pretty much ever since its inception in 1963, and it's hosted a few F1 races in the past, in the 70s and 80s, but of course it was, unfortunately, the location of Gilles Villeneuve's death back in 1982. But ever since, it's had some safety upgrades, and it continues to host some great racing, including tonight's race, which is 90 minutes. It's our endurance race, one of two this season. The last race of the season over at the Green Hell, as they call it, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, is our other 90-minute race. So tonight's going to be a long one. Of course, qualifying has already kicked off, but before we go there, we'll just have a quick look at our track guide. So, the circuit Zolder, 2.4 miles of circuit. It's got 10 corners, 4.3 left-handers and 5.7 right-handers, and I'll talk you through how that works. Overtaking opportunities are, of course, turn 1, then turn 4, turn 5 into the Klein chicane, heading up through Boot, turn 6, and turn 7 is really where you get 3 corners in one, hence why I call it 4.3, because it's kind of one left-hander there, or one left-hander within a corner, and then the rest, of course, follows. Then you have turn 7 into turn 8. That's the best opportunity since it's a hairpin right-hander, and then into the final corner, turn 10, Jackie Xbocht, another chicane. And for some reason, Zolder decided to class multiple corners as a identical corner. So turn 7 is actually a right-hander, then left-hander, then right-hander, then right-hander. So it's actually 4 corners, hence why I made it 5.7 right-handers. I should have made it at 5.8 actually, on second thought, since it's 4 right-handers. 1, 2, 3. No, it is 3 right-handers. 3 right-handers and 1 left-hander. No, it would make sense to make it 4.8 then. Yeah, wouldn't it? Anyways, we've obviously got the racing going, and it's almost over actually. So let's hop straight into it. We have got the AMs out for their qualifying session at the moment, and you can tell I haven't come prepared much tonight. It has been a bit of an interesting week for me. There we go. So our AMs have pretty much wrapped up qualifying. Jan Huben will be the last AM to come across the line. Best time for the AMs is a 1:29.5 from Nicholas Mumtaz in the BMW, who we've seen shine previously in this championship. Jan Huben has had his moments as well. Can he take a provisional pole on the final lap, on the final attempt from Mumtaz as he comes across the line? Will it be the fastest lap for Huben? Not this time round. They do have one more attempt to go. Nick Brum on an improvement in P5. Now, of course, it's a championship, so there are multiple races and there are championship standings to look at. So, we shall have a look at our AM category. In P1, Alex Owanish. Oh, no, hang on. Ooh. Yeah, good luck for tonight. It's going to be an interesting one. I'll just get my standings up here. Anyways, comment how your week's been down below in the chat if you are following us on either Twitch or YouTube. Let me know how your week's been, because my week has been a bit topsy-turvy. I've had no sleep some days. I've had a brilliant day at some point during this week. I've had a busy day today. I've had a quiet day this week. It's really been all over the place for me. But what's not all over the place is, of course, the championship standings. Aaron Manship leads at the moment for the AM class with 104 points, followed by Johan Huben with 99 points, and Nicholas Mumtaz rolls out your top 3, your podium positions, with 89 points. 61 points for Nick Brum in P4 in the championship, with Nico Zilidis in P5 with 47 points. You then have the rest of your top 10 as Tony Rucroft, Leeken Steven, Manu Damhout, Gavin Tyler and Gross Christoph. And we haven't seen the last 3 drivers at all this season, which is a huge shame. But at the same time, not everyone can make it. Everyone does have a drop round that they can use. And of course, no, I think it might be two. Oh, two drop rounds? No, I think it's one or two. One or two. Either way, you lose time, you lose points if you don't turn up to all of them, though. So, it's always a good idea to show up for as many as you can. Cool. Our final laps coming in from the AMS. Leakin Stephen, P7 in the championship. He's only attended one race, and in that race, he took a podium position. Will he do the same this week? Well, he's set himself up in a good position with P3 for qualifying. Mumtaz pulls into the pits. That is qualifying over for him, and Zilidis also pulls into the pits. No improvement for him there. But Brum has had a good couple sectors. If he can pull off this final corner, if he can pull off the exit here, this could be another position for the number 8. He is last for his class at the moment, and he comes across the line. Unfortunately, not enough improvement for him there. It is still a 29.5 as the fastest lap. But our first Pro-Am comes across the line now, the number 29. And that is going to be George Vasiliadis, the Mercedes on fire this season, who has absolutely shell-shocked us this week. Well, not this week, sorry. Over this championship, he's been really good. He's been on top of things. However, he hasn't managed to hold on to those top positions. He's still in the top 3. He's still in with a fighting chance, but he didn't do as well last week as we might have anticipated over at Laguna Seca. That first race he had a crash or two, and guess where it is? Yep, it was turn 7 just before you hit the corkscrew. For some reason we had plenty of drivers mess up at the corner before the corkscrew, but then we also had some guys mess up at corkscrew itself. So it doesn't really matter. But at the top of our Pro-Am Championship standings then, we have Josh Redhead in the Mercedes with 88 points, Stijn van Onneker in P2 with 80 points, and this man, George Vasiliadis, in the Mercedes with 76 points in P3. So it's still very closely bunched up in the podium positions. In P4, we have Ethan Craddock, who somehow maintains his position with a 100% win streak. The first round, double header, he took a race win for both races and has since not attended a race this season. So he's sitting on 10 points penalty with 2 race wins, no other results to his name in P4. Somehow. Very impressive stuff, I would say, from the McLaren driver. Another McLaren driver to mention is Chris Mouchard in P5 with 40 points. He's closely followed by Nick Neville in P6 with 38. Emre Ozduru with 37. 20 points for Weilong Lin in P8, who is here tonight. Artuz Kesberis with 19 points in P9. And rounding out your top 10, you have Harold de Kock, who last week showed up for the first time this season with 15 points. Again, quite a couple battles to keep an eye on. Ethan Craddock and Chris Mouchard being one, although if Craddock doesn't turn up, then it's not really too much of a battle. Mouchard's more worried about Neville and Ozduru behind, who are also going to be fighting for P5. Almost said P6. P5, and P4 might even be up for grabs if Craddock continues to miss out on races this season. We then also have the battle between George Vasiliadis and Van Onneker, potentially for P2. Van Onneker just been doing his usual consistent self. P7 is the lowest result that he's had this season, while Vasiliadis last week got a P9, but he does have a few more podiums. He's got 5 podiums to his name, including a race win, while Van Onneker only has 3 podiums, including a race win. But it's not always about absolute pace. It's about a balance between pace and consistency. And so far, Redhead has had that. He's had 2 race wins this season and 4 podiums. And the rest of his results, all in the top 5. So again, that consistency non-stop. Vasiliadis, though, tonight is on the ball, taking provisional pole for the class of the 128.9, while Mouchard in the number 11 is half a second off. Van Onneker in P4 is third in class, with Novell P4, 8/10 of the time, with Redhead almost a second off the pace. But he is only 2,000ths, I always find that tricky to say, he's only 2,000ths off of Lynn. And Pfeiffer's also not too far off, so we could see some great battle. So for some reason, my mind just changed its mind between saying battles and battling. We could see some great battling mid-pack between Redhead, Lynn, Pfeiffer, maybe Novell as well, if he's maybe struggling with the pace, trying to keep that Porsche under wraps. It is a slightly darker weekend right now. As you can see, it's slightly the track is optimum, but it's cloudy. We might see some rain poke through. Don't know. Again, weather can change very quickly. It's a variable we need to keep on top of. And if the weather does become a factor, well, things could change very rapidly indeed. Pfeiffer climbs the order. Again, only half a second off of Vasiliadis. So does Novell. He's on an improvement. Curtis is also having a pretty decent run. He's already improved up from where he was before. Harold the Cook not far behind. Another DSRT car out tonight. 1.6 seconds off the pace. And I believe our final Pro-Am, or the Pro-Am in P last, for tonight during this qualifying session. Drivers to keep an eye on are, of course, Lynn in the other DSRT McLaren, who's taken pole by 2/10 from Vasiliadis. How does the Mercedes driver respond? The 29 has got 3 minutes to change that standing. He's got 3 minutes to change it. He's potentially got 2 laps left, maybe only 1. Again, we'll have to see. I think he'll manage 2 more laps. Or actually, the question is more 2 or 3 laps as opposed to just 2. Across the line. Is there a response to Lynn's time? No. He is very close to his previous time, though, only a 10th off. Any other drivers to keep an eye on? Van Onneker has had some good sectors, comes across the line in P3. Josh Redhead also looking for the extra improvement to get back into that fight for P5 with Pfeiffer and Mouchard. He's currently almost a second off of Lynn. If he can improve, he'll be able to keep his perfect record up at the front of the grid. It's not been a perfect record, to say the least, during these races. He's had ups and downs, but for the past 4 races, he has finished on the podium every single time, and I've no doubt in my mind he'll be doing similar tonight. And he is only about 8/10 off Van Onneker for P3, that final podium position. George Vasiliadis, though, again looking for that pole position. He's had an absolutely blistering first sector. He's already improved by about 5/10 as he comes across the timing line for the second sector, and he's down to 3/10 improvement on his previous time, which is enough to get him into a provisional pole. But can he hold on to that into the final couple corners? Can he make turn 10 stick? Can he get the throttle down nice and easy? Can he get optimal grip out of that corner? It's all up in the air at the moment. We've got no clue what's going to happen. Will he improve? Will he stay where he is? Will he take pole position as he comes across the line? The answer is pole position for the Mercedes driver, the number 29, with a 128.5. Van Onneker comes across the line not far behind, and it's an improvement, but still not enough for P2. He's still down in P3 with that 128.8. Jacob Curtis is a man on a mission right now. He is P2 last and would like to improve. He has got a 1.5 second gap to make up to provisional pole, though, and it seems as though he did invalidate his lap time or just had a horrible exit out of that final corner. And the final lap approaches for our Pro-Ams. Even the number 29, even Mr. Vasiliadis himself won't be able to get another lap in after this one. And he'll be the first to come across the line at some stage. Van Onaker comes off, so does Redhead. Vasiliadis, of course, continues on. He wants to protect his lap time from Lynn, who's not far behind. He will be the next car to come across the line, so we'll have to keep an eye on both of them. Into the final corner comes Vasiliadis as the pros head out onto the circuit. You can see that on the right-hand side of your screen. You've got a little track map that helpfully points out who is on a flying lap or not. But here we go, across the line. Can Vasiliadis defend his position? Well, he's put in an effort. Maybe not enough, though. We have got Lynn a little further back. The number 11 actually is Chris Mouchard, who'll come across the line first. Can he improve? And no, still 6/10 off. Who will come across the line next? We've got the number 3. That is going to be Jacob Curtis. Once again, the man in the Mustang, 1.5 seconds off. If we can suddenly make a 1.5 seconds, well, we'll have to see. It's going to be a big ask. He comes across the line and just comes short of his other brothers and sisters in the Pro-Am class. And that concludes our Pro-Am category qualifying session. Vasiliadis on top. Pole position in the bag for him in the Mercedes. The number 36 of Lynn, only 800ths off in P2, with Van Onaker taking P3 in the Ferrari. But now our pros come across the line to start their flying laps. They've had their one out lap. And now it's time for their flying lap. And I do apologise, I might seem a bit late to say this, but qualifying has been a split quali. It's been 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes being the AMs, second 10 minutes being Pro-Ams, and the last 10 minutes being Pros. And if you're wondering what the difference is, and you want to know how to tell the difference between these guys purely based on the standings board to your left, the timing tower, the leaderboard, as they like to call it as well, the easy way to see it is purely by the colour of the square behind the car number. So at the top you can see the grey squares, those are the Pro-Ams, the red squares are the AMs, and the Pros are the white squares. So that means basically the first 10 minutes were for the red squares, second 10 minutes, that's just gone past, that was for the grey squares, and this session is now for the white squares, and they have 7.5 minutes left to set their fastest laps, and these will be the fastest laps that we see on the qualifying session tonight, because these are pros. Hopefully they can get ahead of the other Pro-Ams. We have had some races where the Pro-Ams start out ahead and cause all sorts of chaos, but somehow the pros have managed to make it work so far, and we'll have to see how it goes. Christian Graniero now across the line as the first pro. What will be the target lap time for these guys? Oh, it's only P4 for him, 2/10 off of Vasiliadis. Hubert with a banger of a lap time. Hewlett, even better. These lap times will just keep dropping, so I can't quite keep escalating this, because otherwise my voice might get so high and so loud that my neighbours will there and then decide to move out, even though it's only 8:30 in the evening here. But hey ho, we'll let them make the decision. Now, as mentioned before, it is going to be a longer race this evening. It's our 1.5 hour race, one of 2 90-minute races for this season. And the second 90-minute race is going to be at the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife, the Green Hell, whichever name you prefer. But tonight we're at Zolder for 90 minutes, and the only rule, so to speak, is the mandatory pit stop. We have one mandatory pit stop for fuel. Tyres are optional, and the refuel time is fixed. So no matter how much fuel you pour in, you're going to be sat there for 25 seconds. Now that is only stationary inside the box. However, you of course still need to make your way into the pits, turn on your pit limiter, all the usual jazz, and then you can drive out the pits still on the pit limiter, get to the pit line, switch it off, boom, off you go. So you might actually spend a little more than 25 seconds in the pits, is what I'm saying. But the difference is between taking tyres or no tyres is a 5-second gap. So if you take just refueling, that's 25 seconds. If you take tyres on top of that, that is going to be 30 seconds. So it's that 5-second gap. But at the same time, of course, 90-minute race, you want fresh tyres. So I can imagine most people will be going for that option. If they don't, they're going to be playing it risky, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to play out very interesting, especially with conditions like this. Things could change at any point. Right now it's optimum, but it is looking cloudy and potentially slightly wet. We'll have to wait and see what the race does, because we've seen the weather change very rapidly over these race sessions, over these race weekends. But now I'm sure you've been dying to hear what the pro category standings are, so I will not withhold them from you any longer. Alessandro Penati in P1 with 86 points. Christian Graniero, the man in the BMW that we follow right now, in P2 with 83 points. P3 is for Lorenzo Cotalessa with 79 points. P4 is Tim Miro, our current pole sitter, with 54 points. And Matt Jordan rounds out the top 5 with 52 points. Then in P6, we've got Brandon Kleinen in the McLaren, the number 17, with 48 points. Joshua Hubert in P7 with 34 points. 8th is for Kurt Peters with 33 points. Craig Hewlett in P9 with 23. And Daniel Morris, your top 10, with 16 points. So again, some battles going on for some pretty decent positions. The biggest battle, of course, being Alessandro Penati and Christian Graniero right now for the championship lead. 86 points for Penati, 83 points for Graniero. So it is of utmost importance for Graniero to qualify well for this race, because this isn't really too much of an overtaking circuit. You get some circuits that are great for qualifying and some circuits that are great for racing. Racing, there's generally plenty of space for overtakes, and you can do it pretty much anywhere on the circuit. Zolder isn't quite one of those. There isn't quite as much space. Yes, you might think, you could get 3 cars alongside. When you're actually in the car, it doesn't feel like there's as much space. So it's going to be a little more tricky for these guys tonight. But I'm sure they'll manage. I'm sure they will manage. Christian Graniero comes across the line now to take P2. He's trying to work up to provisional pole, as is the rest of the grid. But not all of them are as successful. Brandon Kleinen, though, is currently in P1 of the 128.1. We've seen that lap time drop from a 29.4 from the AMs down to a 28.1 for the pros. Graniero in P2, also with a 128.1, while Tim Miro is P3 with a 128.3. Through the final corner now, if he can lay down the power, this could be P2 for him, or it could even be provisional pole for him, depending on the exit as it comes across the line. Is it an improvement? No. Better luck next lap. Alessandro Penati, of course, our championship leader at the moment. He's got 2 podium finishes in the last 2 races, so if we can get another one, that will be a 3rd podium in a row for the McLaren driver. The number 58 has been on a roll recently, especially at Laguna Seca. I imagine that's the reason why he was doing so well. The one track where he does well, he's going to capitalise on it. P2 and the race win for him in the first and second race over at Laguna Seca for the double header. Other drivers to keep an eye on: Kurt Peters, our season 4 champion, of course, looking for his 2nd title. We only have one person with a double title, and that is Mikhail Topinka, and we've seen enough of him, to be frank. I'm only joking. We saw some great competition against him we saw some great competition against him 2 seasons ago. Actually, it was season 3 when Kurt Peters was our champion. Apologies. It was season 3. Season 4 was Mikhail Topinka. Season 5 was Matt Jordan. Where is Matt Jordan tonight? Well, I don't see him on the board, and actually just before the race session... Oh my goodness, and there's chaos down the pit straight. There's a Mustang doing pirouettes and a Ferrari spinning round. Oh my goodness, let's see what's happened here. The number 812. Okay, so it's a Mustang. Here we go into the final corner. What happens to the Ferrari? Does he just lose traction? Yes, he's onto the curb, onto the grass. And oh my goodness, ay ay ay, absolutely wrecks the Mustang. And yeah, qualifying session over, I think, for the Mustang and the Ferrari. Loss of control, loss of traction. Can't get no traction, and yeah, that's enough to put both cars into the wall. The number 78, Christian Graniero, it's going to be his final attempt at his fastest lap for this evening. He's a 10th of Kalinin. Can he take pole position? Over the line he comes. Unfortunately, no. Miro will be another driver to keep an eye on, but we have a few other drivers to come across the line first. Alessandro Panatti will be the next, as Graniero, yeah, he's done. Hewlett up to P6. Hubert stays in P10. Here's Panatti. Can he improve? Where will he come out? It's a P3 for Panatti, but Tim Miro has had a good second sector. He has managed to get 3/10 or 4/10 on his personal best, but he has pulled over. And unfortunately, that is the end of the qualifying session for all of our drivers. So, join us in just a few moments for the endurance race, as I like to call it, 90 minutes. So, grab yourself plenty of snacks, plenty of drinks. I've got a bowl of ice cream ready. So, I'm set. And actually a bag of Super Mix Haribos as well as water. But whatever your favourite snack is, go get it real quick, because the race is about to start. Join us in just a few moments. Hello and welcome back to the HSR Motorsport GT3 Season 6 Championship. And today you join us for round 5 here at Zolder in Belgium. As we spoke about earlier, and as I forgot, probably one of the most famous racetracks in history's names, Spa-Francorchamps. Zolder, of course, has played second fiddle to that circuit ever since the tragedy of 1982, almost said 1992. Gilles Villeneuve, of course, unfortunately, the driver who lost his life here, but ever since they've made some security improvements. Probably that too, but they've made some safety improvements to keep the track nice and safe for any other types of racing. And as a result, we're here today at Zolder. So, quick rundown of the grid. We have got a Brandon Kalinin in P1, of course, with a good lap time. We have got Christian Graniero alongside in P2, Alessandro Panatti in P3 with a McLaren, and Miro P4 in the Aston Martin. And suddenly we have a Pro-Am, George Vasiliadis, the one, how do you call it, impersonator of the pros, up in P5 alongside Craig Hewlett for P6, Kurt Peters in the number 77 in P7. Call that a curse or call that fate, as Mike Norris would say. We'll have to wait and see. Wei Long Lin, another Pro-Am, mixing it in with the top boys. Lorenzo Cottalessa, P9 for the Ferrari, with Joshua Hubert alongside. Von Orneker in P3 for his class, the 666 in P11, with Adam Dutton in the Mustang, who had an absolutely huge crash in qualifying. Go back just a few minutes ago and watch that if you want to. Josh Redhead, a P13, P4 for his class, with Chris Mouchard alongside in P14. Jean-Philippe Pfeiffer, P15 for him, with the number 888 Novell alongside. Nicholas Mumtaz, the AM class pole sitter, with Jacob Curtis, one of the last pro-ams in hopefully a mix of fairly competitive AMs tonight. Johan Huben in the Aston Martin in P19, with Leek and Stephen now behind, obviously, as they file into single file. They're not alongside, technically speaking. It took too long, I know. P21 for Nico Ziludis in the 66, with Harold de Kock, unfortunately the slowest pro-am, so to speak, during qualifying. Hopefully not the race, though. I can imagine some good progress from the DSRT car. Nick Brum rounds out your top 23, your final driver on the grid. So, Brandon Clayton, what can we expect from man in the McLaren? Like the alliteration, we've had man in a Mustang, man in a McLaren, man in a Mercedes. But this time we got the number 17 on pole position, and it's not a place he's unfamiliar with. In fact, he got 2 podiums in round 2 and round 3 of the championship, and I remember Alton Park round 2 specifically because it was such, it could have been a race win for him actually. He was leading the race, it was sopping wet, we had Penati in P2, and then the pit stop phase rolled round and Clayton had a technical issue with his pit limiter, and that unfortunately cost him some time in the pits, and as a result Penati took P2 and Clayton got demoted, and at the end of the race of course Clayton came out P2 and Penati P1. Well, Penati, I'm sure, was really happy with that. However, he did get a penalty at the end of the race, I believe, so it might actually, it wasn't actually him who won the race. It was actually, no, sorry, it was Christian Graniero. Yeah, it was Graniero who's just behind Ashley who took the race win. So these two are technically race rivals, you can say. In terms of championship points, 83 points for Graniero, 48 for Brandon Clayton. It's almost a digit swap, maybe not quite, but again, we'll have to wait and see. We've seen some great fighting from these two in the past, as everyone now pulls up into their double column to start the 5th race of the season, and we are past the halfway mark. Yes, we are past the halfway mark. I cannot believe it. 4 weeks of racing further, and we're about to get started on the 5th race. Here we go. And it's go time. 23 cars go roaring down to turn 1 to start. 90 minutes of racing, and the McLaren is on the inside. Can he defend his position from the BMW? He's going to have to go the long way around. Christian Graniero gets it done though. He's on the inside for the next corner. Turn 3, can he hold on to it? He's still there, he's still there. The McLaren being pushed out to the outside. Can Penati take advantage now? Graniero has made up that position, but it's 2 McLaren scrapping for P2 now. Onto the grass goes Clayton, but that position is unfortunately lost for him. And Graniero takes advantage right off the line, but could there be an opportunity into the chicane? Penati certainly thinks so. Is he alongside by the time they get to the braking zone? Unfortunately not, and he has to pull back into P3, and there has been some chaos further down the grid. Dutton in P9, I believe, a source of some concern, as well as Lynn down in P12. Huben and Pfeiffer, de Kock dropping down the grid as well. Things have not gone right here at the start. Munters is now making his way up the grid. He's just gone past Ziludis, and there is utter chaos down here. There are about 5 cars scrapping off in the same position. Munters at the head of it, and you've got the McLaren, that's Ziludis, just ahead as well. Johan Huben in the Aston Martin not far behind. Woo! Somewhat clean, but somewhat chaotic. The only car I see on the grid who's had an absolutely rubbish start is the number 3 of Curtis. Something happened to the Mustang driver down in P last. That is an unfortunate sequence of events for him. Joshua Hubert, the closest driver to another driver at the end of the first lap, 0.2 seconds off Craig Hewlett. Further down though, we've got Adam Dutton there, and a huge gap of cars. Once again, that 4-car train now, as Munters continues to build up a lead ahead of Ziludis. Huben ahead of the Ferrari. There's Novell making a move potentially into the right-hander. The BMW is far ahead. This is a Ferrari we're following. And fortunately, he didn't get punished for his mistake. But it was a scary moment for him, I'm sure. It could have happened, it could have gone wrong for him, but it didn't. Hubert, of course, the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:32.6, so he must have made a few positions in the process. Redhead and Cotalesa just swapped positions, the Pro and the Pro-Am. Cotalesa dropped in the race start somewhere, and is now having to make his way through a crowd of Pro-Ams to get back up into the top 10. 0.3 seconds between Hubert and Silidus. Again, this battle further down the grid could explode at any moment, especially into the hairpin. Does it? The Aston Martin did take a look. He had a glance there on the exit, though. We can lay down power more. We can get better traction out of the corner. But right up behind Silidus, right up behind the number 66 into the chicane. Still no move. The Ferrari behind had a look. Pfeiffer, of course, another car in a higher class, wants to make up positions early, but just isn't quite able to. And now we see the rest of the grid in front, making their way down the main straight. Alessandro Panatti, a driver really close to the back of another McLaren, and this is our championship leader at the moment, up in the podium positions at the moment. But if he's not careful, he'll have Tamiro all over the back of him, and in fact he's defending hard from him into the chicane. That exit did mess it up. Oh my goodness, perfect defending there, literally using every single centimetre of the track. Is that going to be the case into turn 7 though, through turn 6? Can he hold on to it? Is he going to defend? Ooh, again, the Aston Martin, he had a look there, potentially trying to play some mind games on the blue McLaren ahead. Unfortunately, no contact there, so to speak. It was very close. I think they might have been rubbing just ever so slightly as they came into that chicane. It was a perfect example of defending. He pushed him all the way over to the track, made it as difficult as possible to pass, and boom, he stayed ahead. Montas, another driver who has managed to stay ahead of most of the other AMs, is unfortunately second now after Legan Stephen. He's managed to make a position in number 25, that big Ferrari, potentially building up a gap ahead of this driver, Nick Novell and Silidus, a yellow flag. Earlier on, again, another Pro-Am trying to make his way through a field of AMs. So we see a lot of confusion here at the start. Lorenzo Cotalesa is having a go at Lynn now for P11. For a second, my brain just froze up. And Cotalesa has had better traction out of the corner. They are into class, so it'll be interesting to see whether Lynn allows him through, fights it at all. Doesn't seem like it, just takes his usual race line. But sometimes the offense is the best defense, and just doing your line, just trying to get the best exit as possible will get you a position. But unfortunately, this time it doesn't. That's Lorenzo Cotalesa up a position. Montas and Dutton swap positions, with Dutton, of course, in the high class, and he's a pro who's dropped very far down the grid. Not had the best of luck, same as Cotalesa. But yeah, Curtis, I believe, the driver that's come off worst from the race start. Not the best. Oh my goodness, Graniero got past Brandon McLean at some point. We just missed that. Where has this come from? 78 and 17. I am seeing some contact here, so it could be that it was a collision or a crash or something. Let's have a quick look at what happened here. So, on the main straight, oh, we'd already made the position. Oh my goodness. It's under braking, turns in. Oh, nothing happened there. Oh no, sorry, that was best session lap. So yeah, somewhere Christian Graniero got past. Really great stuff for the BMW driver. He of course wants to continue building a gap over Alessandro Panatti, the driver just behind Clayton actually, for that championship lead. But of course Tamiro is not going to quite let that go. He also wants a slice of the top 3. He is down in P4 at the moment. Is he going to have a look into turn 5? Yes, he did. Is he going to get alongside though? That is the other question. Unit in P5, also looking for a podium this season. And he hasn't actually been too bad. He got P10 in the first race at Laguna Seca last week and got a podium in the second race. So yeah, Hewlett's not too bad this season. Is it another podium on the cards for the McLaren driver? Potentially. Even though he insists that ACC isn't the game for him right now, he continues to play it. Oh my goodness, there he is. A late move down the inside, and Miro does give him enough space. And Hewlett, I believe, pulls back just a little bit, just to give him some space as well. Cleanest pass, and Leek and Stephen, the cause of a yellow flag down in turn 7. What's happened here? Watch out for the other cars coming around. Just stick to the inside. Perfectly handled. Let's see what happened to Leek and Stephen. He was leading in the AM class, but before we can do that though, Craig Hewlett and Miro going head to head for P4. Miro got shuffled down, of course. Well, I mean, he tried to catch up to Benatti, but in the end hasn't managed it. Joshua Hubert now comes into the mix as well, and has actually got the inside line on the next corner. Can he keep it tight for the next 2? Hewlett needs to be careful here. He does have that Porsche right up behind and ready to take that position at any point, but it does stay in the same order. And got a little tense there. Not quite past, but Joshua Hubert is only 0.2 seconds off of Hewlett, and the better brace of the Porsche. Oh my goodness, he's got a contact with Miro. Woo! Oh my goodness, what a move from the Porsche. And now Vasiliadis now comes around the outside. Hewlett was so shocked by the move from Hubert that Vasiliadis decides to take the position as well. Hewlett caught sleeping on the exit of turn 5, and now he's lost the position to a Pro-Am and continues to build a gap to Van Warneke behind the Ferrari. Well, he's got one Pro between them now, and that I'm sure will be some great security for the next hour and 20 minutes of racing. Wow, what a move from Hubert though. On the brakes, he pulled out, lunged for the inside. There was nothing Hewlett could do. Thought he could stay ahead, thought he could outbrake him, but the Porsche's brakes pulled through. And yeah, Hubert up into P5 again, chasing his hopes and dreams of being a podium finisher. He's come close to it. He's been P4, and that was over at Alton Park. We saw him shine there actually. We saw some great stuff from Hubert in the 911, but unfortunately he just couldn't quite pull through. Jacob Curtis on the side of the road, and it's a smashed up Mustang. It does look like a very, very large gap in the front of the hood. I would say it's a cooling vent, but that is a very large cooling vent, and if the physics were slightly better and we had cosmetic damage in ACC, his hood would probably have flown off at this point in time. What does his steering look like is what I'm wondering. Yeah, not good. I'm not a doctor, but my diagnosis is that is not good. What's not good for Miro is that he just got overtaken by Vasiliadis as well. Vasiliadis is making some moves up the grid. Vasiliadis, is this a potential pro? Oh, well, he better not do too well, otherwise he will get promoted. Vasiliadis now up into P5 with Hubert P4. So Miro, I'm sure there was an incident for him somewhere with him too busy watching the steering wheel of a broken Mustang. Vasiliadis under threat from Miro though into the final corner. Nope, still safe. Miro number 268. There is a yellow flag incident for him. Well, we'll have to wait for that because on the exit Miro's had a decent one. Vasiliadis has had a rubbish one trying to defend. He's all the way over on the middle of the track, but he can't stop against the Aston Martin space. Hewlett also going around the outside now, and Vasiliadis' progress past these pros has been stopped. He's still ahead of Van Warneke though, so he's still got that race lead for the Pro-Ams, but he's managed to keep his pace going. Oh, and Hubert also with a dodgy exit, and that has allowed Miro past up into P4. So the order continues to shuffle, move by move, corner by corner, and Van Warneke background is also looking at another move. He's looking for the race lead for the Pro-Ams. Can he make it stick into turn 5? The Belgian on home soil. Kurt Peters, another DSRT Belgian driver as well, also looking for a victory on home soil, but he has got a whole lot further to go. He's got to go 9 positions before he can take a victory here at Zolder. It's not impossible. He's still got an hour and 18 minutes left. Things could happen here, but it's going to take a lot for that to happen. Craig Hewlett looking for a move. He wants a move to happen on Hubert ahead. Oh my goodness, Vasiliadis really close on the break-in to the rear of that McLaren, and any kind of damage to the McLaren could be detrimental to the pace, because the McLaren is one of those cars that relies a lot on its aero, it relies a lot on its downforce. And when there are any damage to its surfaces, any damage to winglets or diffusers or anything, that car's pace then drops dramatically. It's not like the Mustang where it can take a beating or two and it'll still be fine. Curtis, unfortunately, is the Mustang who took a beating earlier and is stuck in the pit right now as the team tries to repair the damage. Cottalessa trying to repair the damage of a bad start, and he's not done too bad. He's already up into the top 10. He's managed to make his way through the crowd of Pro-Ams in the mid-pack. Can he do so on Kurt Peters and the other two Pro-Ams ahead? He's got to go through Peters, Von Honecker and Vasiliadis before he can get to Hewlett. And Von Honecker also looking to make some progress up the field. The Belgian looking for a win on home soil, as we were saying earlier. Kurt Peters also a Belgian driver ahead. George Vasiliadis going to make use of every opportunity. So will Miro, though, up the inside and just about sneaks past the Porsche. It is tight fighting through the tightest part of the section now. Hewlett comes alongside down the inside for the next corner. This is brilliant racing. Hubert, barely keeping it clean. And there were centimetres, nay millimetres between these guys. And now Von Honecker makes a move for the Pro-Am race lead. Oh my goodness, and there's chaos here. Hubert off the track, Rick Hewlett off the track, and now there's a massive gaggle of cars coming in. Polystyrene's flying. Two DSRT Ferraris going side by side into the final corner. There's a Ferrari behind. Cottalessa getting involved as well. Oh my goodness, into the final corner. The Ferrari's going defensive against the Porsche of Joshua Hubert, and Hubert's off. Just about keeps it off the wall, and here we go. Everything's kicking off now in the hour and 16th minute. Hewlett holding off Cottalessa potentially in the foreground. Hubert going wide. Cottalessa getting the cutback. He's alongside for the next corner, not quite far along enough. He's going to have to do a double cutback here or hold to the outside line. He'll have to hold to the outside. Mouchard will make every effort to catch up to the back of these two as they fight. Cottalessa once again forced wide. Mouchard has got a little bit of momentum on him through the next corner. Can he make a move on this Pro and catch up to the back of Von Honecker and Vasiliadis ahead? In all this, only the Pro-Ams have really managed to benefit from this scenario, as to Miro also in P4 in the Aston Martin in the 268 pulls out the lead on the other cars. In the meantime, Brandon Clayton also caught up to the back of Graniero, still within half a second there. As it stands then, oh my goodness, wow, everything just suddenly happened there. I think it was, so Tim Miro, let's just break down what happened there. Tim Miro had a better exit out of the corner than Hubert, snuck by on the run down into turn 7, sneaked past, and Hubert's dodgy line, of course, caused Hewlett to pull alongside. Dodgy exit, dodgy lines into the hairpin we went, and then we suddenly had Honecker, Vasiliadis also making moves. We had Peters getting involved, we had Cottalessa getting involved, Mouchard also up there. And now into the first corner we have got Kurt Peters and Stein von Honecker going side by side. Kurt Peters, two fellow countrymen working together, same car, same livery, and they are working together to try and get the best results for each other. Craig Hewlett, though, will be looking to maximise the results for himself as he tries to make a move on the inside of the Belgian driver. Lorenzo Cottalessa, the Italian, not far behind. Two Ferraris on the outside, the McLaren on the inside. Through the next right-hander. Will it be enough space between the two? Great racing here. Good space given between the two. Now down into turn 5 though. The two Ferraris have got that inside line. Hewlett's exit was not ideal, but neither was the Ferraris behind Mouchard and Cottalessa throwing hands slightly. Ooh, it's close through here, close through turn 5, and fortunately there is enough space left. Hewlett's now forced on the defensive against Cottalessa. He's got that inside line for the hairpin. No, it's not a hairpin, sorry, it's a chicane. My brain is trying to process what's happening here as Cottalessa is abusing track limits to just stay within a fighting chance of P7. Well, that's dropped to P8 now, because Stein von Honecker managed to make the position, or hold off, I should say, Craig Hewlett and Cottalessa behind. So through all this, Peter's got past von Honecker. Sorry, the names are just fogging up, and my brain's trying to process what's just happened. So Peter's got past von Honecker. Oh my goodness, Craig Hewlett forced to get onto the gravel, and this will put him at the mercy of Cottalessa's high speed, and there is nothing Hewlett can do. He's at the mercy of these cars coming by. How much damage is it? You can still defend from Corsa if he can keep his speed up around the outside onto the gravel. No, he's still there for the next corner. He's going to go narrow. Lynn also getting involved with Mouchard behind. 3 McLarens and a Ferrari getting head-to-head. And the damage from Hewlett's runoff into the gravel at turn 10 isn't actually as bad. He's fortunately managed to only lose 1 position as opposed to the 2 or 3 he could have lost to Mouchard and Lynn. But of course that battle for the final podium position will be kicking off, and it does. Lynn pulling to the inside, so does Hewlett, but neither managed to make the move, and it's a mere time for the rear of the McLaren of Hewlett as it comes over the bumps. They're not made for that kind of thing. That's the Mercedes you're thinking of. Same for Monaco in the Ferrari, has got Corsa behind him as well. I'm not wondering whether these two are in a voice chat and they're trying to coordinate, trying to keep their rivals behind. Well, one rivalry kicking off right now is Kalinin trying to go around the outside, the long way of the final corner around Graniero, but his braking was not ideal. He got forced off the track, and now Penati's coming off as well. He's got a good exit. Stain for Nordkert is losing ground further down the grid. I want to see what's happening there, but I want to see what's happening for P2 as these two now go head to head. It's a cutback for the blue McLaren, the number 58, looking to the outside for turn 2 and now turn 3. Can he get a better exit? I think so. This will be his opportunity into turn 5 or turn 4, I should say, if we can keep the momentum up. And yeah, in all that, Graniero then continues to build a gap for Nordkert. Further down, has lost a few positions. What's happened here? So Peter's still up where he was, but for Monaco is that Ferrari just ahead of Mouchard now, and laying all over the back of the number 11 in the background. That could be another fight kicking off at some point in the near future. And Kleinen lost a position to Penati as well. We'll have to go back 30 seconds to see what's happened here. And we're right back where we left off. Cool. So, turn 4 on the exit. Did Penati get a good run? Did he lunge down the inside? No. Oh, onto the sausage, too much. Oh, and just about keeps it out the barriers into the gravel trap. And, woo, close. Close stuff for Kleinen. The damage is minimal, but there was damage nonetheless. What happened to Van Ornekert? Down in the middle of that scrap for P2 now. He suddenly demoted himself. He had a pro or two ahead of these other guys as security, but now he's got the McLaren. Oh, almost right up into the back of him. I almost said right up to the back of him, but it was almost up inside the back of him. And let's see what's happened to Van Ornekert. The 666 did have an accident. Well, before we do that, we might have to keep an eye on Lynn for a little bit, because he's also looking very racy. 0.4 seconds between them, but he has had a bad exit, and now the timing tower has somewhat calmed down. It's taken 20 minutes for this to happen, peeps. It's we've still got a long way to go, so we could still see plenty of battles. Don't go anywhere. Let's have a quick look at the replay. Let's have a look at what happened to the 666. Here we go, through turn 7. Just past the curb, Corsa right up behind, applying copious amounts of pressure. Lunge down the inside into the hairpin. Monaco turns in, finds the Ferrari there. The Ferrari just kind of drives him out onto the curb, and he loses out to Hewlett in the process. So maybe not the cleanest bit of racing for Corsa, or you know, you just thought there was a position there. Oh my goodness! And both Mouchard and Lynn with non-ideal lines out of turn 7. And turn 8 coming in now. Woo! Some good awareness from both drivers. Good awareness from both in front and behind to prevent anything from happening. Good stuff. Again, we've seen some great racing tonight. We saw some 5-way stuff earlier. Saw some chaos. Fortunately, we haven't seen an accident here at turn 10 other than in the qualifying section. The first race we did at Zolder, we thought lap 1 was going to be chaos. It turned out to be lap 2. And even then, no, it was actually lap 1, wasn't it? It was lap 1 with the final corner. Lap 1, and we just had cars absolutely everywhere. And it was just absolutely nuts. But yeah, now the pace starts to settle down, the drivers get into their rhythms, and we'll see drivers then make their way up through the pack if they've got better pace than the car ahead. Of course, we did have a few cars to talk about earlier who had a rough start, maybe didn't have such a great first lap. Nicholas Montas, though, on an absolute roller tonight. Lincoln Steele was ahead, but of course wiped out earlier. We still have to have a look at what happened there, though. We'll have a look at what happened there in just a second, because Montas is now gaining on Redhead, so this could be another potential switcheroo of positions. But interclass racing once again. But, you know, sometimes that interclass racing can be the best type of racing. And there is a yellow flag. Number 292, Harold the Cook. His race is just going from bad to worse. Something's happened to him there. Let's see. Is this going to be dramatic? I suspect it might just be something that's gone wrong for him, maybe? I don't know. So it's turn 1. Break in. And he just slows down. He just stops in the middle of the track. And straight back at it again. Oh my goodness, so something weird happened there. And the penalties start rolling in. The live steward active tonight. St George Vasiliadis receives a 15-second time penalty, with Jean-Philippe Pfeiffer in P15 receiving another penalty. So there's our first penalty finder of the evening. George Vasiliadis in P6. He has 1.5 seconds off Kurt Peters, another pro. Vasiliadis making most of the chaos a few laps earlier to build a gap to Monaco, Mouchard and Lynn. And Redhead now also joins that train of 4 drivers, all looking to build their way up to P6 overall, but ultimately the race lead for the Pro-Am class. But of course, this man is not going to make it easy for them. He hasn't made it easy for anyone this season, and the fact that he's scored a podium almost every single race this season testifies to that. He's only got 1 race win, but he's only finished off the podium once, and that was at Laguna Seca last week when it was outside of his control. He did clobber the curb at turn 6 up into the Rahal straight, so to be honest, yeah, kind of his fault, I guess you could say, kind of not. But I mean, consistency, pace, that's what Vasiliadis embodies. Again, a reminder of the Pro-Am Championship standings. You've got Redhead at the top with 88 points, Steinfeld Monaco P2 with 80 points, and George Vasiliadis in P3 with 76 points. So this will give Vasiliadis the boost that he needs to get ahead in the Pro-Am Championship standings. I just need to check what our scoring is, because I believe it might be something quite interesting. So P1 is 20, no, it's actually a standard one. Good, so it's 25 points for the race win. P2 gets 18 points with P3, 15 points. So it's a 7-point gap to begin with. Then it's a 3-point gap and another 3-point gap. So, oh, something's happened to the Cork again. He's going slow. What's happening here? Unless it was him just giving space to the drivers, which is great. You know, it's good. It's always good to see a good blue flag incident. Well, not incident, a good blue flag exchange, you can say. So, in the current championship standings for the Pro-Ams then, how this would affect the standings in the championship. We've only got 3 races to go. Well, it's not much longer before we get to turn 1 for these two though. Cotalesa and Vasiliadis, interrupting my little analysis of the championship, and Vasiliadis doesn't want to let go of that position, but he's got no choice, and Cotalesa just sails by. Hewlett looking to do the same thing. Hewlett, of course, he must feel wronged by this guy. He must feel as though Vasiliadis has messed up his race big time, because he was fighting with Termiro for P4, and they were going to then build up to P3 and catch Clayton. But at the end of the day, he then got caught up in a massive battle with the 2 Pro-Ams, and yeah, that Pro-Am is still refusing to give up that position, but he ends up having to concede it anyways. He's got no choice. He just had more speed. So back to our discussion earlier about the championship standings before I was so rudely interrupted by the action on track. Josh Redhead ahead by 8 points from Formonaker. Formonaker is just ahead of him. redhead is a little further down. We'll have to wait because my commentator Maths can't cope when two cars are this close on track. The Ferrari of Cottalessa and the number 4 McLaren of Hewlett. Can we see him moving to turn 1? I think so. Could we see him moving to turn number 3? Potentially. Could we see him moving to turn number 5? I think so. You know, there's all these different ways that you can look at it. John Philippe Pfeiffer stationary on track. Turn 10. No, that's not Pfeiffer. That is Pfeiffer, and he's in the middle. Oi! Yay! Watch out for the cars coming behind. Anyways, the battle resumes between Hewlett and Cottalessa. Hewlett said earlier in, I have to admit, probably what might sound like a very arrogant statement, but I think it was genuine confusion. When he was in the practice session, initially he was really quick and he didn't understand why everyone's pace sucked. Well, I think he's proven himself right. He is making some ground on Cottalessa, but he has lost loads of ground on Miro and of course to these other programs who have so messed up his race, I can say, as Montas allows Hubert to pass, and Hubert was of course the driver affected earlier by some stuff going on up at the top. For some reason when I said up, the word that came out sounded very different. It sounded like I said it in a different accent. Not my usual British accent, you know, laying it on thick. Hewlett's still behind Cottalessa, 0.4 seconds. He's still got a ways to go before he can get past him. And of course we've seen Cottalessa's defence. He's a solid driver all round. He's had some great performances this season. It will be tough. Cottalessa with a 5-second time penalty though. That could allow Hewlett past. Ooh. Yes, these penalties will of course come into effect when the pit stop phase hits, which is only about 15 minutes from now. So that could all start kicking off soon. 5 seconds for Cottalessa would mean that Hewlett can get past no problem. Vasiliadis for the 15-second time penalty. Oh my goodness, who's that? I think that's the cut with the 292, allowing these drivers fast. And Cottalessa maybe slightly, I don't know. Oh my goodness, yeah, he has been slightly shocked by that. Not quite. He's been shaken by the slow-moving McLaren, and Hewlett capitalises, taking away P4. Sorry, P6. Still got a ways to go before he can get to P4. P4 is where he would have been if there hadn't been such a fight. Chris Mouchard pulls into the pits now. George Vasiliadis losing ground. Something's happened here, and Von Unneken now goes around the outside of turn 6 to take the race lead as the 292 is stationary up at the top of turn 6, up on the hill. Oh my goodness, there's chaos now as he tries to get back on track, and I think that might have been the reason why Vasiliadis suddenly lost pace and lost the race lead to Von Unneken in the 666. What's happened here? Let's see if we have a replay. Number 29, yes we do. The 292 was involved in an accident. This could be messy. Brace for impact, I would say. Here we go, you can see Cottalessa off on the gravel. Here we go, the Cook in the McLaren. On the exit, loses it. Oh my goodness, and this Vasiliadis drives straight into the back of him. It's a bad exit for the McLaren. Tries to get control, and in the process then has Mercedes shove his nose right into his rear wing. Not ideal, I would say. Chris Mouchard comes out in the middle of a battle here with Brum, and he needs to allow Penati past one of the race leaders into turn 6. He does. Woo! Things are moving, things are happening very kinetically indeed. Hubert in P2 for the AM class, just behind Novell 2. Interesting stuff. Hubert is ahead of Brum by a fairly large margin, I would say. Pfeiffer lost position on 2, but Brum now on the outside for that corner, on the inside for the next corner. Turn 10 tries to defend from Mouchard. Can he do it? He's just about there, but we've also got Kalinin behind who wants to come past as well. P3, the number 17, very eager to get past at some point. And you can see the Cook in the pit lane right there. But these two aren't quite allowing Kalinin to pass because they've got a battle of their own, as Brum manages to make his way past Mouchard and hold on to P19. But of course, they need to watch out for Clayton behind. Oh my goodness, Brum goes drifting around turn 2. That allows Bouchard through and Clayton as well, but how much time has Clayton lost in all of this? Brum onto the gravel, and I think it's at this point that Bouchard feels comfortable to allow these guys past. Oh my goodness, and he's lost traction there once again, and here comes Miro, another lapping car. So now we have drivers serving their pit stop penalties, Cotalesa being one of them, down in P13, having to sit another 5 seconds in the pit stop there, purely based on the amount of damage he's received. Unfortunately, it has not been a good night for the McLaren driver. It has been a rubbish evening for him. He's just had, everything's just gone wrong for him. He's had crash, and now sits in the pits for a good few minutes. Miro making a move on a back marker to make that position as Cotalesa now comes out of the pits. But your current race leader then, overall and for the pro class, is Christian Graniero in the BMW. Once again, this is the driver who just picks up the pieces and then just utterly runs away with it. Alessandro Benatti, 4.3 seconds behind. Your current Pro-Am leader is von Honecker in the Ferrari, the 666. He's seen some great action tonight, and yeah, managed to inherit the race lead from Ziliadis after, of course, that turn 5, turn 6 incident up at the top of the hill. It's not the worst I've seen. I've seen a very close call up on there, actually. I think it was Mikael Topeka coming up, the race leader, coming up on the stationary car right at the top of the hill, and some great reflexes saved him from a massive accident. There's no understating it, there's no sugarcoating it. It could have been an absolutely horrendous crash. Could have taken out the race leader for good. Anyways, Mumsas in P10, running away with the lead for the AMs, currently up in P10, ahead of 2 Pro-Ams and a Pro. This is potentially another Pro-Am driver, another Am driver turned to Pro-Am, a driver that could potentially be in with a shot at even winning the Pro-Am class, which will be giving the admins ideas. Well, Hubert is getting ideas because he wants to get past the McLaren of Lynn, and then of course Veronica in P7. So he can join that 7-car train ahead of Hewlett Peters, Miro, Clayton, Benatti and Graniero. Hubert in the Porsche, you've seen some great stuff from this driver. He's been absolutely rapid, and whenever he's out there on track, you can see he's pushing the car to its utter limits, and on the braking you can see he's utilising everything this Porsche has to offer. Into the hairpin he goes, easy position for Hubert up into P8. Cotalesa, another driver who extracts the maximum out of his car, Ferrari on Ferrari. Brum ahead, he doesn't even have to give that position, trying to allow the blue Ferrari through, but there's some miscommunication there, and Hewlett is just behind these two. And just a few laps ago, Cotalesa and Hewlett were racing together for the same position, but now Hewlett is the faster car and has to be warranted racing space and priority, and Cotalesa has just been lapped by the car that he was racing just oh so few minutes ago. Exits, Cotalesa still not quite allowing Hewlett to get it too far ahead with that position. He's not too far ahead in terms of lap times, so 128.9 for the blue Ferrari, while the McLaren of Hewlett in P6, sorry, I just need to find it, is a 128.8. Actually, Hewlett is just that tiny bit faster, just a tenth faster. But, oh, Mark, I can feel my voice is starting to take the strain now. It's only starting to kick in now. Oh, I need a sip of water. Earlier we had Nailgun Stanley. You can see how my brain's functioning at the moment. It's running on fumes. Earlier we had a comment from Nailgun Stanley saying mega shout on the Haribo, of course referring to my comments in the closing stages of qualifying when I was saying get yourself some snacks. I had a bowl of ice cream, and I still have actually my Haribo Super Mix ready. It was a share pack. The only reason I took that as opposed to the Tank Fastic, is it Tank? Yeah, it is Tank Fastic. I usually get those two mixed up. I usually go for the Tank Fastics, but this time I was forced to go with the Super Mix. It's not too bad though, but gummies are just not quite my thing. I don't mind Jelly Babies. I don't mind the sour sharks in the Tank Fastics, but that's the thing, is they're sour. We've got the sugar on them. I don't know, there's just something about the Tank Fastics that are just so much nicer to me than the Super Mix. The Super Mix is just, I don't know. It doesn't. I guess it's just not my taste. I'm just not a Super Mix kind of guy. And I mean, there's a guy actually who goes about on a bike in London. His name is called Harley Rides Bikes, and he hands out sweets to strangers, handing out Haribo sweets. And he usually has an option between Tank Fastics or Super Mix. And usually, I think most people. I don't actually know. I haven't watched it in a while, so I can't actually pick up on the trends. But yeah, on the off occasion that that Harvey sees this video, could we get some sponsorships from you as well, please? Give a pack of sweets to the winner. Well, oh my goodness, Monica might buy himself a pack of sweets after that manoeuvre, just to calm down his heart rate and make that spike in his heart rate come down a little slower to keep it at a high with the high sugar level content. He'll have to have a whole pack of Tank Fastics to recover after that spin. Oh, almost lost the race leader there. Again, it seems as though P1 in the Pro-Am category is a very high pressure position, even though he doesn't have Lynn or Redhead behind him. He can still feel a lot of it. He can still feel all of it. Craig Hewlett now pulls into the pits, and we are coming to that stage of the race, ladies and gents, where the pit stop phase sets in, and we have got 50 minutes of racing to go. So probably the 5-minute mark is where you can expect most of the pit stops to happen. But of course, you can see some variation in the strategies. If you're wondering, if you're joining us for the first time this evening, well, you've missed about half of the action. We're about halfway through now, a 90-minute race. We've had plenty of action in the first half, but now everyone's kind of settled down, everyone's into their rhythms. We've seen some overtakes, we've seen some action fairly recently, but now the pit stop chaos sets in, and we wait to see what happens to the grid order. Christian Graniero currently leading in the pros with Stein von Onneker in the race lead for the Pro-Ams, while Nicholas Montas leads the AMs in the BMW. Now, fun fact about this race. Well, fun fact is that Pfeiffer is right up on the back of Huben. It's a Frenchman on a Belgian on home soil, I might add. Currently P2 in his class, with Pfeiffer P4. P5. So also not too many positions that he can afford to lose here. 15-second time penalty for Pfeiffer at the moment, which he will serve at his pit stop, but he can't wait for that long to get past Huben or to stop fighting with him, unless he just dives into the pits here. We'll have to see. Yeah, they both get there. The pits here is a very interesting thing, because you could, I think we saw some chaos or a potential collision almost happen when a driver got on the brakes late, just like Pfeiffer does, but instead of diving past, he had to dive to the outside because the car ahead of him was braking for the chicane, and he was just going full send into the pit lane. So he almost had a massive incident. We just saw a car flying past in the background. But fortunately, no harm done. He was fine. The car ahead was fine. Everyone came out of the whole ordeal perfectly safe and sound. Well, yeah, maybe not sound in the mind or in heart, but also in the general sense of the word, safe and sound. Yeah. And I also noticed that George Vasiliadis got a drive-through penalty. Not what you want to see when you were leading the race just a few laps ago and got taken out by a back marker, essentially. He's gonna be mad, and he's gone from leading the race all the way down to being the third last driver on track, and he's a pro-am. Yeah, I can imagine that stings a bit. Tim Euro into the pits as well. Everyone now doing their pit stops soon. 47 minutes into the, well, no, sorry, 43 minutes into the race. 47 remaining. But what I meant to say when I was talking about fun facts is that I actually have not many fun facts tonight, because this week's just been utter blur, and everything's just gone so fast. I've had so many things to do this week, and unfortunately the research just didn't happen, and I'm not blaming it on the week. I just struggled to get around to it. I did a little bit, but Zolder for some reason is not a very nice track to research. Their official website doesn't have much in terms of track history or anything that I can really go off of, other than, of course, the driving experiences. I do love to look at those, so we might have to rip that out a little bit. But what we might do, actually, is look at Brandon Kalenen and Penati fight for P2. Neither of them have made their pit stop, but somehow Kalenen has managed to close up the gap to Penati. Well, I mean, looking at the lap times, it shouldn't actually be such a surprise, because Penati's best lap is a 129.3 as opposed to the 128.8 from the number 17. Redhead now receives a drive-through as well. I can imagine this is for track limits. Redhead, he was due a podium here, potentially, even after starting so far down. But that drive-through is a spanner in the works. We'll have to see how this all turns out for him. Oh my goodness, things are happening. Things are happening, and I don't know why or how. I can only assume, and assumptions are dangerous. But I assume that Kalenen will make up the gap to Penati soon and make the overtake happen at some point soon as well, because Penati at this point is only blocking the P3 driver who wants to make his way past and start working the gap to Graniero. Well, Graniero has just gone into the pits, so it's either dive into the pits right now, Kalenen, or forevermore hold your peace. And oh my goodness, he's gone off at the final corner. Not the best way to make use of the in-lap from your opponent, trying the opposite strategy of the car ahead. Penati pulls in. Is going to be potentially even Penati pulling out ahead of Kalenen. Things could happen here. Things could happen here, as it always could. But anyways, as I was saying, research this week was not great. I mean, I found out that the racing in the area actually dated a little earlier than 1963. It was back in the 1950s when the Zolder Motor Racing Club arranged some races around the town square, which sounds absolutely awesome, doing these in this little oval, I guess you could say. That's the only thing that comes to mind when I think about racing around a town square, because they're not very big, are they? Well, it depends on the size of the town, to be honest. If you live in one of the biggest towns in the UK, then actually it can be a fairly big square, to be honest. But you'll be driving circles in a square, so people who are geometrically challenged might find it a bit interesting going to one of those race days. Other information I found was that Omloop van der Leyen, no sorry, that's the name of the circuit, Omloop van der Leyen was built in 1961, and then 2 years later, under Hans Hugenholtz, it was expanded to the current 2.5 mile long version of Zolder. And it continues to host racing to this day. 50, 60, 70 years on. It's 70, isn't it? Time can just fly by so fast. It feels like the 1980s were only 20 years ago. The 2000s were only a few years ago. 2010s are even more recent. It feels like 2019 was only yesterday. And then can you imagine, can you believe it, COVID-19 was 6 years ago? Staggering. Staggering. And one thing that is staggering and stacking up is the amount of time between these drivers. We now only have 19 drivers racing tonight, and the others have a bit left. They've had 4 retirements this evening. Not quite sure who they are. Again, commentator's brain, commentator's math. It's a miracle I managed to get the plus minus down. As some other cars come to the pits, Mumta's pits. Nazi comes out behind Graniero. And again, here all the chaos happens. I don't mind looking at some incidents earlier. We have quite a few from Curtis to look at. We also had Brum have an incident, didn't we? Yellow flag for the number 8. Let's see what happened here. This is a while back. So he's just behind Curtis, the other driver who's had very poor luck this race. Into the left-hander. And just loses it on the exit. Tries catching it, can't quite do anything. Spins round and finds himself facing the wrong direction. We do actually have, I think it was someone else. It was actually Stephen, who we saw stationary on track earlier, I believe. Number 25, let's see. Was there an incident for the number 25? No. So it was actually the number 8. So it was an incident actually much earlier on, the one that we saw. Let's have a look at what happened here. This is the same incident. So it must have been the other incident. I must have clicked on the same one twice. Anyways, analysis, re-analysis going in. No, this is something else. Oh my goodness. So out into the gravel. Turn 1 seems to be the nemesis for Brum. That is funny. I'm not going to lie. Hit by the same corner twice. So convincing. I got caught out by it. Just too difficult to do, to be honest. Pit stops. Pit stops have just happened. From getting pits. Clanen's still out in the race lead. No, Clanen pitted 2 seconds slower. So Panati stays ahead for the time being and is actually 3 seconds ahead of Clanen. So Clanen came out and he's actually just ahead of Miro. Miro's within a second of the McLaren. So this could be a podium position on the cards for Miro, who has the fastest lap of the race for some reason. Even though on the screen Clanen's got a 128.8 but Miro's got a 128.9. And it's purple for Miro, not for Clanen. ACC TV is doing weird things. Again, at least it hasn't been as bad as before though. It has been worse. We've had some really wacky stuff happen. My screen's frozen on it for like 2, 3, 4 minutes. And we've had to steer in the same car almost 5 minutes to try to figure out what was wrong with it. And it did it with such unexpectedness. It did it with such short warning. It just suddenly froze, and I'm like, what's happening? Anyways, most of our pit stop chaos seems to have abated. Graniero is still leading the I call everything except pro for some reason. Still leading the pros. Stephen leading in the AMs, but he will obviously have his pit stop and likely drop back behind Mumtaz, who was the previous leader. And then for the pro-ams, we have Von Unikerd leading ahead of Mouchard and Lynn. Vasiliadis nowhere to be seen. I suspect Vasiliadis was the one driver who left, potentially rage quitting, but we can't say that. We can't assume much. One driver who was very tempted to rage quit because of that Mercedes is Hewlett, the number 4, now making progress on steam up to P5 and looking to close that 7-second gap to Miro ahead. It's going to be a massive feat for him. He is 0.3 slower on the fastest lap, so it will take a bit of time for him to get there, but it is possible. Hewlett was really quite quick in the first half of the race, and it seems as though he has opted for the tyres, as has everyone else pretty much. Let's see, has someone gone for no tyres? They're essentially looking for a time under 30 seconds or so if they haven't gone tyres. No, everyone's gone for tyres. So everyone on a fresh set. We should see some great pace from these guys now, and we do actually see some great pace from Brandon McLean at 28.5 from the number 17. So he's working hard to close up that gap to Benatti, and Miro's going to have a tough time keeping up with him, but he was the previous fastest lap holder in the first half of the race. And actually he's within a second now of Kalinin, so we can see this battle kick off soon. Same with Mouchard and Van Ornekern, and their lap times are also different by about a tenth. So the Belgian trying to hold on to the race lead. He's going to hold on for another 37 seconds. Hopefully not just 37 seconds for him, but if he can hold on for another 37 minutes, he can take a home run here at Belgium. And to be honest, you couldn't tell the difference really. Could have just said that if I hadn't mentioned it, you wouldn't know. Home race win at Belgium. There we go. And I do apologise if you're joining and all you get here is me stuttering and trying to make conversation, because it is that time of the race where things have calmed down. Things are at a bit of a lull now. The grid has dispersed itself fairly evenly, but we do have some potential fights that could explode at any moment, such as between Chris Mouchard and Stijn van Onnekere for the Pro-Am race lead, as well as between Brandon Kalinin and Tim Miro for the final podium position in the Pro Class and overall. Stephen has yet to make his pit stop. I wonder whether he knows that. I was going to say this could be a great strategy for getting ahead of Mantas, but as it is I think his pit stop might, yeah, his pit stop will definitely put him behind. I say that. Stephen in his pit stop might be able to stay ahead. Glenn and Miro just swapped positions. Oh my goodness, we didn't see this. Okay, time for a replay. Yeah, replay time. Sorry, that's 10 seconds. That's not a minute. I was looking for the minute. The exit's still all good. Cool. Let's have a look at what happened here. So, Kalinin ahead, Miro behind through turn 4. I suspect it was a mistake somewhere here. Into turn 4. Is it a little too much momentum out onto the gravel? Just maybe ever so slightly. Turn 5. Turn 5 then, something happened here. Again, lost traction on the exit, and through goes Miro. So that's how that overtake happened. Glad we could catch it just in time. And Miro making his way past Kurtz in the foreground, just a back marker. And unfortunately, this particular back marker has had some very poor luck tonight, almost taking out one of the race leaders, Kalinin in P4 now, as Miro makes the position for the final position. Yeah, Curtis, he's had a rough night. He's had many collisions. We didn't actually get to see many of these. Let's have a look at what happened to Curtis. So here's the first incident on the list. So into turn 1, on the throttle, a little too much, trying to correct it. Just about keeps it on track. Nope. Round turn 1, round he goes, nothing too crazy. And then back into speed in the gravel trap just about. So that was the first incident we had for the Mustang. We then have another incident just a few minutes later, 4 minutes later. Into turn 5. Still fine on the exit. Over the hill. Oh, here comes Penati, so he pulls the outside. Lets Penati through. Easy peasy. Into the braking zone. Easy stuff. Oh. So nothing happened here. Just a yellow flag. Just because he was moving slow. Okay, another one. It's a Curtis showcase. Into turn 5. Maybe a little too much speed. Slightly on the exit. Pulls over to the side again to allow Lesser through this time. And again, that's the only reason we see this is because it was a yellow flag. And Lincoln Stephen has finally decided to pull into the pits. We see a very similar scenario to what we just saw happen. Yellow flag, yellow flag. Trying to catch that accident we had from Curtis a lot earlier. Because he had a massive crash, didn't he? His whole bonnet was up. Something happened a little further on. Anyways, 292 has had plenty of accidents. There was an accident with a 292, there's an accident with a number 8. What happened with number 8? Number 8 was Brum. Let's see what happened here. This is Bouchard and Brum. Oh yeah, this is the thing that happened earlier. So Penati got past Bouchard. Brum holding up Penati. And just kind of giving a tap from behind and said, hey, I'm coming past, whether you like it or not. Or not, if you like it in a different accent. Deacon Stephen comes out in P14. Unfortunately, his strategy of staying ahead of the competition didn't quite work out too well. He's now in P3. Still a podium finish for him, though, as Montes leads in the M-Class Tubin in P2. And Craig Hewlett off the track, and that's down by turn 5. Yeah, down at the chicane through turn 6. He's only lost one position, and that's to Kurt Peters. Let's see what happened here. Cool, so down into turn 5. Braking zone coming up. On the brakes. Turns in. Finds his rear end, slipping and sliding again. Very similar scenario to what we saw happen to a few drivers earlier. And I believe the car we just heard go past was Kurt Peters. Further up the grid, we've got Brandon Clayton and Tim Miro possibly going head-to-head once again for the final podium position, but Miro's consistency and his just outright pace tonight means that he stays ahead quite well. Even though Miro and Clayton only have a 1500th fastest lap difference between them. There is only 1500ths between their fastest laps. They are very tight. It's going to take a mistake from one of these two to mix up the order. It's going to take a mistake from one of these two, which can still happen in the last half hour of the race, for sure. Excellent. Time for a swig of water. It has been a good evening so far. The first hour of action has been alright. If you didn't make it for the first two-thirds of the race, we've had some five-way battles, we've had some crashes, we've had a crash in qualifying actually between Dutton and I believe it was Kurt Peters. And actually I don't think I've seen Dutton on this list, so Dutton must be the other driver who's retired. We had 23 drivers start the race, only 19 remain, and Curtis in the process managed to make 2 positions purely because we know Vasiliadis and then of course the driver we just mentioned will both leave And that's why you just stay consistent. You just, you don't give up, you just keep going, you just keep racing, and you find yourself in a good position. As a quick summary of the positions at the moment, we've got Christian Graniero out in the race lead with a 8-second gap on Alessandro Pinati for the Pro class. Then we've got Stein van Onneker in the 666, the Pro-Am leader. And then down in P10, we have got Nicholas Montas as the AM class leader. Hewlett's going slowly with Curtis just ahead of him. We just had a quick little Curtis showcase. Did just have a incident, yeah, nothing to worry about there. Blue flag for the number 8. Something's gone on somewhere around the circuit. Number 8 is Nick Brum. Is this going to be turn number 1? Car 3 also off. Car 3 is Curtis, yeah. Once again, just allowing the leaders, allowing Craig Hewlett in P6 through. Let's see what happened to the number 8 a few minutes ago. So made it past turn 1. Great. Now it's turn 2 though. Turn 3. No, all good. So what happened? Oh, a little too wide for turn 4. No dramas though. Just kept the consistency, just kept the pace going, just kept the momentum. And boom. Nothing to worry about. Again, the closest gap on the circuit at the moment is Tim Miro and Brandon Kleinen up in P3. Again, battle for the final podium position, potentially kicking off at any point in the near future, but Tim Miro has just managed to keep consistency as his aim, and he's done quite well at it. He's stayed ahead of Kleinen. Kleinen is also well known for his consistency. But yeah, they're very close on lap times. If there was a slight difference in pace here, we could see a battle within the next couple of laps for sure. But right now, it's just a game of mistakes. It's a game of, I'm not sure whether attrition is the right word for it. I don't actually know whether attrition would be an appropriate word for this. No, it is actually. Attrition, yeah. The process of reducing someone's strength or effectiveness through sustained attack or pressure. Of course, we've got Miro under pressure from Kleinen behind, and through a section such as turn 5, a mistake could cost them into turn 6. That has cost them indeed, and 0.3 seconds between them now. Kleinen, woo-wee! Looking at a position on him, you can see in the rearview mirror of the Aston Martin that grey and orange McLaren looking to pounce on any mistake that Miro makes. Again, just as we were saying it, we had something happen. Oh my goodness, Craig Hewlett is yellow down at turn 5 again. That chicane strikes, and he's reversing out. He's stuck there potentially. Dutton still in the race actually, just noticed, down in the 11, and Hewlett struggling to hold on to his sanity, I'm sure, struggling to hold on to his tyres' grip. You can see the line of rubber on the road as he applied the power. And yeah, Hewlett tonight has gone from great to uncomfortable to bad to worse. It's really, he's struggling tonight. He is really struggling tonight. These two aren't struggling though. Well, maybe when it comes to gaining a pace advantage over the other, they are struggling, because Kleinen and Miro are still only 15 hundredths difference between them, and their last lap had a 0.2 difference, and that's all it took for Kleinen to catch up to the back of Miro. There was no difference in the position though. They were still locked in P3 and P4. Again, this thing could explode at any point if there's a mistake in there. Where's one from the Aston Martin, and the McLaren has to take evasive action towards the inside. The Aston Martin wasn't budging, and again, just that little incident cost Kleinen the position potentially. Oh my goodness, but that little mistake from the Aston Martin allows the number 17 through, and Kleinen takes the final podium position. Miro, will he be able to build up again up to the back of that car? I'm not sure he can, because he's already buckled under the pressure twice. But then again, no pressure could mean better pace. Adam Dutton just had an incident as well, blue flags. Here we've had two incidents recently. We've had Hewlett and we've had Dutton. Hewlett again struggling with turn 5. Oh, here we go though. Lincoln, Stephen and Huben. A fight on for the AM class. Here we go, P2. The number 99 and the number 25 into turn 1. Slipstreaming galore. Brum looking really aggressive in his pink Ferrari, looking to man his way past into P2. It's not the best exit for the Aston Martin into the next right-hander. Another 2-3 right-handers to go. If Brum can get a better line through here, he's got it done by the time they hit the braking zone for turn 5. He might not even need that though. Had a look into turn 4, potentially trying to get a wider line from the Aston Martin, but instead he takes a wider line, and that battle is postponed for just a short while. But we'll keep an eye on this. This could potentially turn into a great battle as well. Right, let's see what happened to Carmen 4 now. Let's see what happened to Hewlett earlier. So out of turn 4 again into turn 5. It seems as though this corner is his nemesis now. He's had 2 separate incidents on this corner before, and again just bouncing over that curb, and once more it's a 3rd time that turn 5 has claimed the rear end of his McLaren. So then, it's the claim to gain. That's the name of the corner that Craig Hewlett is struggling with down in P7. He's actually just lost a position to the Pro-Am of Stijn van Onneker. So Van Onneker thankful to have that barrier between himself and Mouchard. Not that he really needs it, to be honest, because he is a long way ahead of him. He's about 7 seconds ahead, and his lap times are around half a second faster. So he doesn't really have too much to worry about. In fact, Van Onneker's last lap was a 29.5. No, it was a 30.2. Mouchard had a 30.3, so maybe it was just a little earlier we had something like that happen. But here we go, we pick up where we left off. Stephen and Huben at turn 4. Who can get the better exit out of this corner? Stephen behind in the pink Ferrari into the braking zone, still too far behind. And Huben, he's starting to feel the pressure. Is going to be a war of attrition? I don't think so. This could change very quickly, considering the gap that Huben and Stephen had just a few moments ago, and then it closed up again. Stephen again making Huben get uncomfortable, making him think he's maybe going for a late last minute dive, keeping him on his toes, as they say. It seems as though Sector 2 and Sector 3 aren't really his forte. It's more Sector 1 where he manages to get a great run. Well, not this time round. Sector 3 is great for the pink Ferrari as Huben goes slightly wide on the exit, goes on the fence, and Stephen forced to try and get on the inside, but he just can't find any purchase. Huben, some reactive driving from him, not going to lie, but he's still managing to keep that pink Ferrari at bay. Pink Ferrari's going to have to go the long way around into turn 1 if he wants to go around, but again, there's just nothing he can do. He's forced the outside line, and Huben manages to keep the Ferrari behind again. The 99 doing a great job despite all the pressure from the Ferrari. He's managing to stay ahead and keep his pace going. And at the end of the day, yeah, you are fighting for a 3-point difference, and let's just have a look at the championship standings for these guys in the AM class. Manchip currently leading with 104 points, and he has obviously he hasn't turned up for tonight. In P2 is Huben. Huben is on 99 points, and Stephen is all the way down in P7 with 9 points. So to be honest, there isn't too much of a difference between. There is a massive difference between these two when it comes to championship points and what these points mean to each of them. For Huben, it's to continue his battle onwards and upwards to start his fighting with Manchip. So at the moment, if he gets to say these 25 points, no 18 points, sorry, for P2, that would put him on. Again, sorry, commentator maths during the race is incredibly difficult, much more difficult than you can imagine. It's something that only commentators know about, but something that's also incredibly difficult to manage is keeping that Ferrari behind when your Aston Martin doesn't have enough grip on its tyres with 18 minutes to go. Remember, these tyres are now 45 minutes old if he's swapped them out for a fresh pair. If not, he's on incredibly old tyres. He is on an hour and 10 minutes old tyres. Yeah. And my voice and my brain is also 2.5 hours old. When it comes to the amount of time that I've been speaking. Woo! Speechless almost, 0.2 seconds between these two, Pfeiffer not too far behind. Here we go, this is Stephen's opportunity alongside before they even get to the braking zone. Can he hold on into the chicane though? A bit of contact and Hubin goes round and Stephen pulls over to the side, I believe, to wait for Hubin to allow him back past. Some great sportsmanship from the Ferrari. Also, great heads-up driving from Hubin. Just noticed there was a blue flag, and that Ferrari ahead, I believe, is Kurt Peters. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that's Veronica. I think that is Veronica who just went past. And I was wrong, because Veronica now is Hewlett right up on the back of him, 0.3 seconds, and Hewlett's managed to nail turn 5 this time. Lane chicane being a small problem, no more. And round the outside of turn 6, has got the inside for turn 7. Great stuff from the McLaren, who's just only a few moments ago struggling to nail that chicane. It's called the Klein chicane, Klein meaning small, and the only reason I know that is because I speak Afrikaans, which is kind of almost Belgian. It takes some elements from the Belgian language, or Flemish I should say. And yeah, unfortunately for Hewlett, that Klein chicane wasn't a very clean issue. It wasn't a small issue for him, as Nick Neville allows a driver pass. Sorry, just had to see what was happening there. There was suddenly a yellow flag, so you're wondering what's happening there. And again, Stephen with an absolutely brilliant exit out of turn 2 and turn 3. If we can keep the momentum going into turn 4 and keep this pressure on Hubin again, this suddenly turned into a war of attrition again. Just mistakes, trying to sap each other's strength, trying to put pressure on the driver ahead as much as possible. Stephen is doing everything he can to get past him, and he's almost managed it, but in the process, unfortunately, last time round, the Klein chicane caused a big issue. The Klein chicane wasn't a Klein issue, it turned into a big one, and he had to let Hubin back pass, but now it's fair game once more. The game's on. The 25 is chasing the 99 yet again for that position into sector 3. Little mistake from the Aston Martin. We see a dive into the chicane. Sorry, it's not a chicane, it's a hairpin. I got those two confused a little earlier, as the Aston Martin is slightly deep and Ferrari has to pull back on the throttle just a little bit. Could we see a move into the chicane this time? Yes, got it right this time. It's not a hairpin, it's a chicane. And into the final corner, nothing's happening. I thought we might see a last-minute dive from Stephen, but he's a level head. He's going to wait for a better opportunity, such as turn 1, 0.3 seconds. He's got the slipstream again. We've been having to go slightly defensive into that corner. And I realise we've been on that camera for a very long time. This is what it looks like from the Ferrari's POV. Let's have a look at the difference in lines. This time round, I think Hubin nailed it. So Ferrari's actually struggled a little bit on the exit. Again, there's a slight difference in lines. So it seems as though the Aston Martin does prioritise the exits a little more, while the Ferrari just uses its agility to try and gain speed on entry. Up the hill though, and I don't think the Aston Martin's exit will be enough to hold the Ferrari behind, and in fact he does move to the inside to try and defend from the Ferrari, and it is a place where it's not actually too bad to defend into, because you then already have such a bad entry into the next corner. You can really maximise your exit for the next one. That's the beauty of chicanes, really. Trying to defend into chicanes is, the only thing is you're not carrying as much momentum, which for smaller chicanes, potentially like these ones, if you're not careful, you could end up losing that position on the straight because they just have more momentum to carry through the corner. The exit, Stephen applies the power. Can he get it down evenly? Can he get it down quick enough to get a better exit? Again, into turn 1 we go for these guys. 13 minutes in the race remaining. We're almost at the end. We've had an hour and 20 minutes of racing, an hour and 17 and about 30 seconds of racing. There's a yellow flag actually, there's a yellow flag somewhere. And there is a yellow flag because for some reason my second monitor literally just died. There's a yellow flag on my monitor into the next corner though. Fortunately we've got plenty of the action here. We've stayed on the right screen. Oh my goodness, and there is a bad exit for Huben. Here we go, Stephen alongside turn 6 has got the inside line for turn 7. Can he hold on to it this time? On the braking, he is on the inside line, and oh my goodness, just enough space given by Huben. Some great racing. Oh my goodness, and he's lost it. Oh my goodness, and the Ferrari almost spins it, and Huben is somewhere stranded on track, and I can't see because my screen's just my second monitor's just died, so I can't actually see what's just happened. Oh my goodness, all that live action. Oh my goodness, what happened there? I think my ACC TV is actually, no, it is actually PC giving up. Oh my goodness. Yeah, things are going wrong with my software. Sorry, ladies and gents. 10 minutes into the race, 10 minutes remaining in the race, apologies. It's not exactly what you want to see. Let's try this again. If it doesn't work, I might have to admit defeat and we'll have to see what happens. There we go. Hopefully that's been alright. We saw Nicholas Munters right up on the back of another driver earlier. Right up on the back of Mouchard actually. Half a second off of Mouchard for P9. Close there. Okay. So yeah, we had an incident happen with Huben, who's now behind Stephen. So a mistake happened, that were of attrition. Stephen got given 5 seconds. I'm assuming it was for someone there. The accident between the 25 and the number 99. Let's have a quick look at what happened here. Sorry, I'm doing this for my sake because I can see what happened. So we had the exit. The Ferrari's alongside. Into the chicane we go. Ferrari's on the defensive line. Just enough space given on the exit. Ferrari oversteers into the Aston Martin and he's then beached. That will then be why we had the 5-second penalty for Stephen. Unless he gives that position back, I imagine. But yeah, Johan Huben's dropped back so far now though that Stephen would rather take the 5-second time penalty and he'll be in a better position. The driver who is looking at a better position is Munters in the AM class lead, and there isn't much he can do to better his position. With 10 minutes to go, he is leading the class up in P10, with the nearest contender being Stephen down in P14, who we just saw go head to head with another driver, and unfortunately the other driver come off worse. Other leaders in tonight's race is of course Stijn van Hoeneken in the 666 DSRT car, and I believe we see 3 or potentially even 4 of them all lined up in the same shot. There is 1, 2, 3, and I think the car just ahead is also another DSRT car. No, that's Craig Hewitt. The one red, white and blue car that is not a DSRT dash RJB Solutions car. Yeah, that's cool seeing 3 DSRT cars in the same shot. That is really cool. So yeah, Stijn van Hoeneken leading in the Pro-Am class. Then your overall leader and the Pro Class leader is Christian Graniero again. He just picked up the scraps. He just picked up what was left after the fight between Kleinen and Penati. Said, oh well, cheers, I'll take the position. and off he goes. Now 6.7 seconds ahead of Alessandro Penati, and Kleinen 1.5 seconds off of Penati. Now there was a pace difference between Penati and Kleinen, and that pace difference is still alive and well, because fastest lap for Kleinen is a 1:28.6, whereas Penati has a 1:28.8 to his name. So that 0.2 difference, 0.3 difference, that could be something to keep in mind, but with 8 minutes to go, I'm not sure it'll be enough. I mean, it's only 1.3 seconds, you can see him, so all it would take, again, is a mistake, a kind of error from one of these two. Probably, for Kleinen's case, it would have to be a error from Penati, or it could even just be traffic. Sometimes it's not even just a mistake, sometimes it's stuff that's just out of your control. And we saw Penati get caught up behind some back markers earlier, and Kleinen also actually had that incident. So, again, we'll have to wait and see. Plenty of back markers to go through, but it seems that they've got some clear air. 78 coming up on some right now, so we could see traffic play 1 or 2 final rolls, but we'll see how it goes. Last 7 minutes of the race, usually things might heat up a bit on the final lap, on the final couple laps, but at the moment everyone's still kind of spread out, so it might be a slightly slower race end for us, but between Kleinen and Penati this could heat up even more. A little battle on our hands. The last lap lunge maybe, is this something that we could be looking forward to? Potentially, again 1.3 seconds between them. Last lap, Kleinen made 0.3 seconds on him, but again, mistakes are not far away between these two. I feel a mistake is coming from one of them. But then again, both of them have been so consistent over the last couple of laps. We saw Miro and Kleinen swap positions after sorry, not Human. I'm getting them confused because they drive the same car essentially. But we saw a mistake from one of Miro when he buckled under the pressure and just allowed Kleinen through. So I can imagine it might be a similar thing. Nick Brum off at turn 5. I thought we heard some tyre squealing. The number 8. I imagine once again being claimed by the Klein chicane. Yeah, let's see what this one was all about. Oh, things are happening. Yeah, let's see what happened with this incident. So there we can see Kleinen and Penati in the foreground, Miro in the background, under braking. Oh dear, just plunges straight into it. Nicely controlled there. Staying on the brakes, all fine. Whew, that could have gone a whole lot worse. 5 minutes left in the race now. We're coming to the end. Kleinen has still not managed to make any progress on Penati. He's still 1.3 seconds behind. The closest gap we have, other than this, is a 2.3 second gap. It's now opened up to 2.6 between Chris Mouchard and Nicholas Muntas down in P9 and P10. Now this is one, as a completely random fact, last random fact for the evening, I thought, I usually do some sort of wildlife research on the area. I like learning a little bit about animals online as well when I'm doing a bit of research for a circuit, and the only thing I could really find was something about eagle owls, and even on that, the only bit that I could find off the National Geographic site was a study into how these birds mark out their territory or mark out their specific area. And the way they do that are with their droppings or with feathers. So basically, they mark out their territory by pooping. Yeah, so we'll move on. I don't know, it's just something childish in me that was just like, I really like this fact, I want to say it on a broadcast. And I did. So do with that information what you will. It can enter one ear and go out the other, I get permission. 4 minutes to go. Yeah, time just seems to slowly creep by for Kleinen as he tries to claw back that time on Penati. It's opened up to 2 seconds now. It was 1.3 seconds before. It's now 7/10 further, and yeah, he's struggling to close that gap. 1.8 seconds between them as they come out of sector 1. It's going to be really close. They're not really going to get to throw hands towards the end. Steven still with his 5-second time penalty, that could bring him closer to Redhead, but again, yeah, interclass racing not really going to affect anything. St. Veronica still leading in the Pro-Am category, then P2, Mouchard P3, and then for the ad we've got Mumtas, then Steven, then Huben, and in the pros we've got Graniero, Pinazzi, and Kleinen. Huben, the white flag somewhere out on the circuit, as you can now some of the drivers pass, some of the faster drivers such as Gelin and Mouchard. There's Mouchard just behind. And again, 1.8 seconds still between these two. There's nothing really that he can do to catch up to him. There's no one behind, no one ahead other than Pinazzi, of course, who's just tantalisingly that 2-second gap ahead. It's just not enough for the Sim3 to kick in and to allow him any kind of advantage. Last lap is just around the corner, 2 more laps to go. This is the penultimate one. Any errors on this one? Again, the drivers behind could capitalise, such as Kleinen. The only other driver that could potentially gain anything out of a mistake is Chris Mouchard on Weilong Lin in P8. That could be a P2 finish for Mouchard if there's a mistake, but of course we don't bank on mistakes, we only keep them in mind. Of course, a mistake is really cool. It's great when you get gifted a position essentially, but at the same time, you wish you could have fought for that position, you wish you could have had a battle for it. And we had that between Kleinen and Miro earlier, actually. Miro, of course, got onto the curb too much, down at 10.5, and Kleinen said, well, cheers, I'll take it. Whether he did that with such an attitude, or whether he took it with more gusto, I was like, yes, I'll take it. I mean, to be fair, they were chasing each other for a very long time, and their pace has been neck in neck for most of the evening. Tamir is slightly dropped off. It's now about a 10th off of Frank Kleinen's fastest lap as we now head into the final lap, I believe, for this race. I'm just waiting for the confirmation from the AI. Yes, there it is. Final lap of the race, and it's been an interesting one. Christian Graniero just staying out ahead for most of it. It's been a semi-boring race for him, pretty much from the 15th minute mark, I would say. It's been kind of quiet for him. Alessandro Pinazzi, of course, catching up to Kleinen, capitalising on a mistake, getting ahead, and then staying ahead after the pit stop phase. And Kleinen, his pace tonight has been great. He's been that ever-looming presence behind both Miro and Pinazzi now. As long as Pinazzi can keep his head cool, he'll be fine. Johan Huben, the driver, to allow them to pass. I just saw a yellow flag. I was like, what's happened? Oh, no, he's fine. He's just letting those guys through. Is Kleinen also coming? No, sorry, Graniero coming up on Mumtas, who's only in P10. Even just an hour and a half racing can mess up standing so much as Redhead made his way past Steven. Steven's still holding on to P2 for his class. Again, we had that incident a little bit earlier where Steven and Huben came together, had their little crash, and unfortunately Huben came off worse as Steven now allows Hewlett through, or should. And here we go, Graniero around the final corner, and it is a BMW driver who wins at Belgium. Graniero wins the round 5 race of the season 6 championship for HSR Motorsport GT3, as well as Mumtas in the other BMW. 2 of our race winners alongside each other as they go through turn 2. St. Veronica still a way to go, but well deserved from both of these drivers. Mumtas just stayed ahead all the way. Pinazzi, I'm sure, more than happy with P2, and Kleinen just happy to take another podium and get some points on the board. Other drivers will be happy, I'm sure. Steven happy with his P2, Huben happy with his P3. St. Veronica, of course, still legging it round the circuit. as the final couple drivers come across the line. He will be one of the last. The 666, the Belgian. It is a home win for the 666. He's been waiting for this a long time. He's had to wait for a couple seasons now, but Stijn van Onnekere wins round 5 of the HSR Motorsport GT3 Season 6 Championship. It's been a long evening. It's been up and down for this driver, but he has managed to stay on top of things, and he takes the race win. The 666 wins here at Zolder. I believe we've got donuts going on, but unfortunately I can't quite see who it was. But yes, that does conclude the 5th race of the season here at HSR Motorsport for our GT3 Season 6 Championship. Thanks so much for joining us. It has been a quiet one, I'm not going to lie. It's been a long one, 90 minutes of racing. It's our first endurance race of the championship. The other one is the final over at the Greenhouse, so be sure to join us then. But also join us next week here at HSR Motorsport, 8 p.m. So 8 again. 8 p.m. GMT is when we're back live for quali to begin. And yeah, join us for then. Hopefully we'll see you all next week. Good night.